1,000 years ago, a dragon clan ruled over all the demon beasts, and the one at the top was known as the demon god. The demon god, with overwhelming ambition, wreaked havoc. He led an army of magical beasts, sweeping through the human world. The demon god's greed has no boundaries, aiming to engulf every corner of the world in endless darkness. At this moment, humanity faced destruction. Humanity's potential was fully unleashed in the wave of spiritual awakening. Some exceptional individuals displayed the ability to control demon beasts, and they were called beast hammers. Now we see a beast tamer engaged in a violent battle against a dragon, her beast unleashing a powerful blast at it. The report indicates that the demon beast over Qingfang City's northern residential area has been hit. Another report indicates that the struck demon beast has crashed into the residential area, requesting emergency medical assistance. Our main protagonist, Sealwook Sungwoo, is in Class 1, Grade 3, from Zhang'an High School. He is trembling in fear as a giant dragon's head smashes through his house, leaving him pinned in place and only able to watch in fear. Just then, the dragon noticed him, and he was shocked, frozen in fear. Then, in the background, he heard a voice saying, "In the beginning of chaos, when heaven and earth had yet to be divided, I forged a pact with my heart's blood, summoning spirits from the void with blood as my oath and words as my bonds. Hear my command and summon Flame Lion to attack." A purple blast struck the dragon, bringing it crashing down. The voice informed that the beast has been confirmed dead. Survivors confirmed Sealwook Sungwoo, who had covered his eyes in horror, cautiously opened his eyes after hearing the voice, and no casualties were reported. She apologized for the unnecessary trouble. She is Soroyan, headmaster of Kinglan Academy. She smiles and assures him, saying, "Regarding the damage to your home? Kinglan Academy will handle the aftermath and offer compensation," and offers him a card. He smiled as he held the card. As she and her fellows prepared to depart, she turned to him and commented, "Until we meet again, young man." Reflecting on his encounter with her, he stated, "So that was a beast tamer." He looked down at the card and thought, in our world, everyone dreams of becoming a beast tamer. If only I were a beast tamer, too. But he can't even afford to buy a beast, and without a beast, he can't take the National Beast Tamer exam. If he can't become a beast tamer, he can't protect anyone. Suddenly, a little beast appeared in front of him, and he became confused. The creature had a beautiful small face and looked up at him. To his amazement, the beast began to lick his face in happiness, leaving him confused about how to respond. He carefully held the beast in one hand and questioned, "Wait, did you follow the dragons in here?" Wondering aloud, "What kind of start is this? A husky from the heavens. Could this dog be a beast companion?" Just then, he remembered the textbooks mention a dog-like creature called the Galehound, and its bloodline is weak and doesn't require spiritual power. He stated, "Maybe I can take care of you." He smiles and says, "Great, now that I have a beast, I can become a beast tamer." He imagined that, but the National Beast Tamer exam is in 3 days, and he probably won't make it in time. However, he lifted the beast into the air, smiled, and shouted excitedly, "Come here, good boy, listen closely, Spirit Awakening." A radiating golden light surrounded the beast, showing the beginning of its spiritual awakening. The scene switches to the Qingfang City market as he arrives at the Beast Tamer store. He looks up while holding the beast in size. He thinks, "Maybe I should give the beast to someone who can afford to raise you." He then glances at the beast, which is cheerfully looking straight at the store. He says, "There is no future in sticking with me." Suddenly, the store owner opens the door, visibly upset to see him. He questioned, "Hey kid, what are you doing standing in front of my store so early?" He brought up the beast in front of the store owner and asked, "Boss, do you want this beast?" But the owner gets upset and shooing them away, claims, "A Galehound with such an inferior bloodline and no evolution path. Who's dumb enough to buy that?" He glances down at the beast and comforts it, saying, "If you don't want it, then just say so. No need to be so rude." But just then, he noticed a blue glow coming from the hound. It was the system, showing a hound's statistics. It indicated that the hound was Tier 1, and possessed a hidden bloodline called the Hell bloodline, which was of epic quality. It shows his hidden talon called Hellfire, deals true damage bypassing enemy armor, and also revealed a hidden evolution path, hinting that the Galehound may progress to Hellgale Wolf, Hellmother Wolf, and lastly, Divine Inferno Yama Wolf. He questioned, was he seeing things? A system panel? He is confused by what he had just seen. He rubbed his eyes, wondering if it was still there. The hound looked puzzled at him, but the window still indicated the hidden evolution path. He shouted in surprise, "What? Hidden evolution path?" But the store owner responded, "Galehound, no evolution path. Now leave. A person observed the scene with interest. He rubbed his eyes again, but it didn't help, and he muttered, the boss can't see this. And I'm the only one who can see this panel. Just then, Suji, a student of third-year class, one from Sangon High School, and the son of King Fong City's richest man, says, isn't that Xiaoxingyu? He further stated, if I recall, you were planning to take the national exam because you didn't have a beast. As he moves forward, noticing the beast in Xingyu's arm, he asks, what's this? Did you manage to get yourself a beast? Xingyu, frustrated, turned and walked away, saying, mind your own business. Suji then insulted him again, labeling it as a weak galehound. He smiled and added, looks like Lena was right. You are not planning to take the Beast Tamer exam at all. He laughed and continued, of course, not that you could pass, even if you tried. Xingyu questioned him, Lena. Suji laughed and replied, you didn't know? Your girlfriend, or rather, ex-girlfriend, John Lena, has been with me for a while now. However, a girl came and grabbed his arm and asked, gee, where did you run off to? I couldn't find you earlier. So Ji responded that he just saw an old friend and came over to say hi. The girl muttered, Xingyu, and tells Ji to stop joking, saying, I haven't been with him for a long time. It turns out she is John Lena, his ex-girlfriend. While looking at him, she thinks, why would I care if that loser sees me with someone rich, and carrying around that worthless galehound is so pathetic. Xingyu aggressively shouts, John Lena, don't forget how I helped you when you were down. He pointed a finger at Suji and stated, go ahead, spend your life with that rich jerk, and remember this. I was the one who dumped you. Xingyu then left, casting a cheeky look at them. So Ji yelled, Seo Xingyu, how dare you talk like that? Do you believe I'll completely crush you on the national exam? Lena responded to Suji and asked him, don't stoop to his level. He's a loser with a worthless galehound. She also stated, I should have dumped him long ago. As Xingyu walked away, he thought to himself, who says the galehound is worthless? Let's see if there is a future for us after all. 3 days later, Xingyu entered the city, arriving at Zilin Square. He watched a large crowd forming as a voice mentioned that the National Advanced Taming Exam was about to begin, and all candidates were instructed to enter the venue. As he entered the square, a voice declared that the exam had officially started. When Xingyu came forward for the exam, someone recognized him and wondered, why is he taking the Beast Tamer National Exam? I thought he didn't even have a beast. Another guy commented, yeah, he didn't have the money to buy one, and he only signed up for the exam 3 days ago. Plus, he registered for King Long Academy. They responded, King Long Academy, are you kidding? That's the top of the 4 major academies. Someone replied, yeah, how dare a loser like him even try? As he approached the testing orb, Xingyu looked down at it, determined to prove them wrong and realizing how critical this test was to his destiny. Xingyu stood there, observing the teacher who was relaxing with his feet propped up. Approaching the teacher, Xingyu greeted him, saying, I'm here for the exam. Lifting his head, the teacher inquired, are you Chao Xingyu? The teacher introduced himself as Chen Qinin, the admissions teacher from King Long Academy, Kingfeng District. Xingyu nodded in confirmation, stating, yes, sir, I'm here to take the exam as Chao Xingyu. Chen Qinin stared at him, recalling a report, thinking, this is the only student from Kingfeng District applying to our academy. Soji appeared just then, and Xingyu gave him an irritated side glance. Soji mocked him, saying, Chao Xingyu, you really don't know your limits. He continued, for the past 5 years, only 8 students from Kingfeng City have dared to apply for King Long Academy, adding with a sarcastic look, not one has passed. Soji sneered, pushing a paper into Xingyu's chest. He teased, and you think you can pass the King Long Academy's exam? If you manage to get in, I'll drop to my knees and call you dad. Listening to him with an angry expression, Xingyu responded, then clear your throat and get ready to call me dad. Soji crushed the paper and yelled at him, but Xingyu ignored him and turned to Chen, saying, Teacher, I'm ready, can we start the test? Chen, with a serious attitude, replied, Chao Xingyu, I have to make something clear. The entrance exam for King Long Academy is harsh, and you didn't opt for any backup choices. He pointed out on Xingyu's application, if you fail this exam, you will never be able to apply to any other Beastmaster Academy. When the other participants heard about the conditions, they began to insult him and mock him. King Long Academy's passing score for spirit power is 800. There's no way you'll reach that. Another responded, exactly, we are all applying to ordinary Beastmaster schools. Despite their taunts and dismissive remarks, Chao Xingyu remained undeterred. Turning to Chen with a determined expression, he said, I understand, teacher, let's start the exam. Chen placed his left hand close to the golden orb and announced a first test. It's the spirit power test. Xingyu placed his right hand on the golden orb. However, the golden orb displayed, Xiao Xingyu, your spirit power is only 316. Soji was the first one to laugh, criticizing, I thought you'd be something special, looks like you're just an ordinary applicant. Lina, his ex-girlfriend, also mocked, there's no way you can reach King Long Academy's minimum spirit power requirement of 800. Chen looked disappointed, thinking, I thought we had a promising student here, and asked for the next student to come. But the sphere began to shine brighter as Xingyu's palm remained on it. Chen was shocked, his spirit power is changing, it's 621 now, and it's still rising. The power level reached 711, he couldn't believe it, just then the orb reached 800. They exclaimed, this is insane, the spirit power meter must be broken. But the numbers continued to rise, Soji, Lina, and another person were stunned as it reached 950 sticks. Suddenly, the light around the orb faded, revealing a spirit power of 1028. Chen and the other observers couldn't believe their eyes as Xingyu's spirit power continued to skyrocket, defying all expectations. Xingyu pulled his hand away, leaving Chen surprised as he read the power. 1028, Chen was utterly astonished, thinking to himself, what kind of freak is this? The other applicants were equally stunned, while Soji was furious, gritting his teeth in disbelief. Chen realized the significance of Xingyu's impressive spirit power score, understanding that spirit power determines how many beasts a beast master can contract. Every 100 points equals one beast, and a score of 1028 means Xiao Xingyu has the immense potential to become a rare and prestigious 10-star beast master. There have only been a few individuals in the past few decades in the entire Dragon Kingdom who have achieved this level of spirit power. Chen then proudly announced Xiao Xingyu's spirit power test results to all the applicants, and Xingyu couldn't help but grin confidently, knowing he had stunned everyone present. Someone in the crowd commented, I remember that genius girl Yining Xuan from last year only has spirit power of 1030, right? Another person added, I didn't expect Xiao Xingyu to be so strong, with a score just 2 points below Yining Xuan's impressive record. Soji continued to taunt him, saying, but the Qinglong Academy entrance exam has 2 parts. His ex-girlfriend with an angry expression then pointed out, there's no way he'll be able to pass the next test, the Beast Bloodline Quality Test. Just then, a staff member called out, Mr. Chen, appearing concerned. He quietly whispered in Chen's ear, it seems there was a slight error with the spirit power meter. This student's actual spirit power score is 1032. Chen was surprised and thought, this student's spirit power score of 1032 is 2 points higher than a previous record held by the genius girl Yining Xuan. With a serious attitude, he ordered the staff member, keep this malfunction in the spirit power meter quiet. We cannot let this information go public. The staff member responded, understood sir. Chen then turned around and declared to all the applicants, the second test is the Beast Bloodline Quality Test. Xinyu stood in the center while those present waited silently to see what would happen in this test. Chen ordered, Xiao Xinyu, summon your beast. Xinyu smiled and lifted his right hand, causing a sign on the back of it to light up. The symbol produced red energy lighting the air. He placed his right hand in front of him, a determined look on his face, commanding Black Fong, it's your turn. The red and black energy began to take shape, forming legs with claws as Black Fong started to materialize before him. Just then, a fire encircled the shadow of Xiao Xinyu's beast as his summoning brought it into the real world. The crowd watched closely, shocked by what was happening. As the fire faded, the assembled audience caught fleeting glimpses of the beast. When the flames reduced even more, they saw the face of a dog. When the fire was completely out, they were confronted with the sight of a frail dog beast sleeping on the ground. They commented, Galehound, isn't that the lowest grade beast in terms of bloodline quality? Another person responded seriously, who still contracts Galehounds as their beasts nowadays. Just then, the hound began to stir due to the disturbance. It stood up and looked around curiously, while the examiner, visibly frustrated, placed his hand on his forehead, sighing deeply. He thought to himself, besides spirit power, the bloodline quality of the beast is also a major factor that limits a beast tamer's future development, and stated that, it's clear that Xiao Xinyu's beast has poor bloodline quality. He closed his eyes, preparing to express his disappointment, saying, Xiao Xinyu, I'm sorry, but you're a beast. Before he could continue, the other candidates were shocked and shouted, wait, look, that's not a Galehound at all. As they watched, the weak-looking hound's eyes grew crimson, and the cross on its face started to glow. The creature rapidly expanded in size, becoming more fierce and imposing as a dark, crimson glow surrounded it. One individual yelled in astonishment, Galehounds don't even have an evolution path. Chen took a step closer, overshadowed by the beast, and activated a bloodline check device. It confirmed that the monster was a Hellwind wolf with an epic Hell bloodline, capable of using Hellfire and Hellbend, as well as possessing fire and air abilities. However, the Talon Hell Howl was currently restricted. The equipment failed to identify an evolution route, and as Chen studied the facts, he began to question himself, wondering if the beast was at the second stage of its evolution. Chen smiled back at Xiao Sinyu, understanding that this guy was really something special. Sinyu smiled, acknowledging Chen's smile, sensing the satisfaction the examiner had for his tamed beast. The examiner then announced, Xiao Sinyu, you have passed the exam. Welcome to Qinglong Academy. Meanwhile, Su Jie, who had been mocking Sinyu earlier, muttered in disbelief, I can't believe he actually passed. This is unbelievable. We need to get out of here before things get worse. Xiao Sinyu and Jian Lina, humiliated by the uproar they had caused, hastily attempted to flee while everyone was still captivated by the sight of Sinyu's tamed beast. But Sinyu, standing beside his huge summoned creature, called out to them. Where do you think you're going? He spoke with a sarcastic tone. Aren't you going to say goodbye to Dad before leaving? Xiao Sinyu turned back, furious. He pointed accusingly at Sinyu, smiling. You brat! Don't be so cocky. I'm not calling you Dad. What can you possibly do about it? Meanwhile, Jiang Lina watched on, her expression a mix of embarrassment and uncertainty, unsure of how to respond to the heated exchange. Sinyu's satisfied expression suddenly morphed into one of rage as he commanded Black Fong. In a flash, Su Jie spun around just in time to see the massive beast hurtling towards him. Before he could react, the beast pinned him down with his single powerful claw, trapping him. Sinyu, recalling Su Jie's earlier dismissive words, asked mockingly, well, are you ready to speak now? Gritting his teeth, Su Jie reluctantly muttered, Dad. Suddenly, the weight lifted as Black Fong released him. Sinyu walked away, taunting, I won't consider you my son. Now get lost. Just then, Jiang Lina, seeing an opportunity, stood in front of Sinyu, smiling coyly. Sinyu, honestly, over these past 2.5 years, I've developed deep feelings for you, she said. So, is there a chance we could rekindle what we had? She asked, trying to win him back. Sinyu walked away without hesitation, responding, I'm sorry, but I'm not interested in going back to the past. Jiang Lina watched him leave with regret. In a desperate attempt to reclaim his attention, she collapsed and cried, Sinyu, please. I know I was wrong. However, Sinyu ignored her and continued walking away. A few minutes later, as he strolled down a downtown street, he thought, I got to tell my sister the good news about getting into Qinglong Academy. He called his sister, and when she answered, he said, hello, sis-eyed, but stopped when he heard strange, panicked voices in the background. His expression turned serious as he realized something was terribly wrong and his sister was in danger. The scene shifted to the outskirts of Qingfang City's bustling farmers' market, where people were screaming in terror, run. A horde of monsters has invaded the area. Another person frantically called out, has anyone seen my child? Where is my child? Panic spread and fear was clear on the faces of the fleeing crowd as they rushed to avoid the attacking creatures. Amidst the chaos, a small girl could be seen crying inconsolably, her small friend trembling as she was hugged tightly by a young woman attempting to comfort her. Shut, don't be afraid, the woman whispered soothingly, enveloping the small child in a firm, protective embrace, her expression one of unwavering determination as she sheltered the youngster from the tumult around them. Despite the unsettling sounds of the creatures in the background, the woman remained focused solely on keeping the girl calm and safe. The sounds of the creatures raged in the background, but the young woman remained steadfast, her focus entirely on keeping the small girl secure and comforted. She was so intent on providing a sense of safety for the child that she failed to notice the large, menacing shadow creeping up behind them. The piercing cries of the girl had unwittingly drawn a monstrous creature to their hiding spot. As the ominous presence of the approaching beast filled the air, the young woman's protective instincts kicked in. Sensing the danger, she quickly spun around, her eyes wide with alarm as the realization dawned on her that they were now in grave peril. The massive creature loomed over the small wall they had been sheltering behind, its shark tail poised to attack. The young woman could only look up in dread as she automatically pulled the small girl's head aside to protect her from the creature's gaze. She remained steadfast, determined to protect the child despite the imminent threat towering over them. Singdi arrived at the scene, pushing through the crowd and racing toward the conflict. He stopped, overwhelmed by the chaos, and wondered, what on earth happened? Where is my sister? He spotted his sister just as the monstrous creature smashed the earth nearby. His heart racing, he ran, pushing his body to its limits, anguish etched on his face. Suddenly, a blue glow emerged before him, and he thought, it's happening again. The system displayed his Hellstorm wolf companion, Black Fong, along with its available skills, Hellhowl and Hellbind. The system questioned if he wanted to use them, and he yelled without hesitation, of course yes. His eyes burning red with fury, he screamed, Black Fong, Hellbind, Hellhowl. But to his surprise, nothing happened. He wondered, why isn't it working? Meanwhile, the creature approached to attack his sister. When he saw the attack hurtling toward her, he screamed in terror, stop it. Then he remembered the beast tamer he had seen earlier and thought back to when they broke the window. The people from Azure Dragon Academy chanted some kind of spell, and he thought, alright, I'll give it a try too. Recalling the tamer's spell, he resolved to apply it to his own hound. As he began to chant in the beginning of chaos before the heavens and earth were divided, I pledged my blood summoning spirits from the void, and Black Fong changed, enveloped by a whirling black and crimson aura ready for war. The hound jumped ahead as he continued to chant, by the blood I swear, by words I bind, and stretched his hand forward as he finished the spell, saying, hear my command, go. He felt a surge of power coursing through him, and as he spoke the final words, he could sense the connection between him and Black Fong growing stronger. Black Fong opened its mouth and created a tremendous energy beam. The energy struck its target, severing the monstrous creature and splitting it into bits. The powerful strike barely missed Sinya's sister and the small child as the defeated beast lay crumpled on the ground. As Black Fong transformed again, Sinyu asked in amazement, did I really defeat it? He wondered in awe, is this the true power of a beast master? Then, a sudden realization struck him, and he exclaimed, wait, my sister is still near the monster. Without hesitation, he ran towards her, shouting in concern, sister, are you okay? Reaching her, he exclaimed with relief, sis, I'm so sorry I was late, but I'm so glad you were safe. She glanced at him with anxiety, laying her hands on him, saying, Sinyu, how did you? But he smiled back, grabbing her hand and telling her, sis, I got into Azure Dragon Academy. I'm a beast master now. Black Fong sprang in front of him, surprising him as his sister stood there, shocked at the sudden interruption. Sinyu fell to the ground smiling as Black Fong licked his fingers with a proud grin. He said, oh right, this is my contracted beast, Black Fong. The beast stood up, wagging its tail and beating with happiness as it approached his sister. He explained that it was a Hellstorm wolf, a powerful and fierce creature known as Black Fong. As the panicked crowd began to settle, one person questioned, look, the monster, it's dead. They all turned their attention to him, and Sinyu smiled confidently, responding, yes, that's right. His sister chimed in, confirming his words. Suddenly, a person came forward and said to the little girl, kid, come over here. The person said, thank you, are you beast masters? The little girl said, Mom, and cried as she reunited with her mother. Overjoyed, the mother embraced her daughter tightly, relieved to have her safe. Meanwhile, Sinyu walked back to the defeated monster with his sister. As they approached the fallen creature, he said, sister, let's go check it out. He noticed a large hole in the monster's body and peered inside, spotting a shimmering gem nestled within. The system's notification flashed before him, informing him that the object was a monster core, a valuable, initial stage-level item obtained from the defeated creature. Its attribute was poison, and had the effect of increasing poison-based attacks by 5%. Sinyu also received a notification that he had gained 10 experience points from the monster's defeat. He picked up the core, feeling a bit disappointed with the loot, even as it glowed softly in his hand. The gem seemed unremarkable at first, but Sinyu knew that even the smallest gains could help his companion Black Fong evolve and grow stronger. He called to the Hellstorm wolf and tossed the gem, which the hound happily jumped up to catch, his tail wagging with excitement. Sinyu smiled, thinking even the smallest gain can help Black Fong evolve. Turning to the gathered crowd, he announced with confidence, the monster is dead. Everyone can relax. The crowd rushed toward him, surrounding him with relief and gratitude. One person commented, thank goodness we survived that ordeal. Another person said, Sinyu, you are truly our hero. Sinyu felt a swell of pride at their words, grateful that he had been able to protect his sister and the others. Just then, the little girl he had rescued spoke up. He looked down at her as she said, Big brother, I want to become a beastmaster like you. He patted her on the head and smiled, telling her, I believe in you. You'll definitely become an amazing beastmaster. Her eyes lit up with joy as she looked up at him. Night fell and moonlight filled the room, softly lighting him as he slept, fatigued from the day's activities. Suddenly, his sister entered his room, secretly watching him, her face black and her fists clenched. She gazed down at her brother, her expression becoming increasingly agitated as she looked at him, confused. But then, her gaze shifted to something, a blue glow lighting up her eyes, coming from the middle of his back, resembling a monster of some kind. She steps out of the room and makes a phone call, stating the dragon room curse is still in place and the seal on the Dragon King's essence remains intact. Her expression turns serious as she questioned the person on the phone, so why can Sinya still form a beast contract? This doesn't make any sense. The person on the phone replied, it seems like this is fate's doing. We must keep a close eye on him and monitor the situation closely. She responded, yeah, I understand. I will be watching him. The next day, they arrived at the Kingfong City train station. A group of people was waiting for him. Two people seemed very happy and said, Desire Oyu, take this basket of salted duck eggs. You have always loved them since you were a kid. The lady added, we all chipped in this few $100. To you, please accept it. They then saw the train arrive and headed toward it. He turned back, smiling and waving as he said, alright everyone, don't see me off anymore. I'll visit when I'm back on break. They both climbed aboard the train and he told his sister to take a seat next to the window. The train departed and a few hours later, an announcement came over the speaker, passengers, please take note, there are reports of beasts along the railway ahead. There may be some trains shaking. A few minutes later, another announcement was made stating, passengers, the train has successfully passed through the dangerous section. We are proceeding as normal. He told his sister that he was glad they made it through safely, almost at Longyin City. She smiled and responded, you're about to start school soon, so study hard, okay? Just then, the train started to shake violently. He screamed out, questioning, what's happening? Another announcement was made stating, passengers, please note that a group of beasts known as three-eyed giant apes has been spotted ahead. Please protect yourselves and your belongings. He grew serious, recognizing that the situation had turned dangerous and readied himself for battle. But the other passengers reacted differently. One cried out in fear, questioning, didn't they say we'd already passed the dangerous section? While another screamed in terror, more beasts. Suddenly, something large landed on the train, cracking the roof. The passengers were filled with panic as they realized the danger they were in. One person frantically asked, what are we going to do now? While another wondered aloud, is no one going to handle this threat? Just then, one of the beasts ripped through the roof, letting out a deafening roar, and a person screamed in sheer terror, run. The beasts are coming. Meanwhile, Shingda told his sister, hide here and don't come out, as he know it's too dangerous out there. She looked worried and questioned, Cou, what are you doing? She fell to the ground, screaming, Cou, don't go, as he started to leave her. Just then, a massive three-eyed giant ape appeared. It ripped through the roof and landed in front of him with a deafening roar, catching him off guard. But he was saved when another beast, a fierce-looking creature, smacked the ape back with a powerful swipe of its tail, leaving him in shock. Then he heard a voice calling out to him, are you just going to stand there and watch, kid? A young lady stood between him and the ape. Her name was Kin Yaren, daughter of the Sky Guild's president. She put her arm out telling him, if you don't want to die, get back. She began channeling her skill, spinning her weapon with determination, and called out the skill, Thunder Flash. Her beast understood her command and dashed forward with the speed of thunder. A system window popped up, displaying the stats of the beast, a three-tailed thunder fox at extraordinary tier 3 level with a bloodline of thunder fox and epic quality. Its attributes were thunder and wind, with an evolution path leading from the three-tailed thunder fox to the four-tailed thunder fox, then the five-tailed thunder fox and finally a nine-tailed thunder fox. It also had a hidden evolution path from the three-tailed thunder fox to shadow red lightning fox and ultimately to scarlet lightning fox. Its skills included three-tailed thunderstorm, which sweeps at the enemy, dealing electric damage and stunning them for 1 second. The active skill being used was called Thunder Flash, which allowed it to dash to evade attacks and strike the enemy with lightning damage. He watched as she and the Thunder Fox attacked the beast. He thought, a three-tailed Thunder Fox. That's Spear and the Thunder Fox. Isn't she Kin Yaren, daughter of the Sky Guild president? Another passenger called out, the Beast Master is here. We are saved. But Sinyu questioned himself, are we really saved? That was the case as another ape jumped down into the hole. Seeing this, he screamed to the others, everyone evacuate this train. He thought, three-eyed giant apes are dangerous creatures. How could there be only one? He understood they now have 3 apes to deal with and the situation had become increasingly perilous. He acted quickly, summoning Black Fong and commanding his hound go. Let's assist that beast master. A red and black aura gathered as Black Fong materialized. Qin Yeren held her weapon steady as her beast attacked one of the apes. Frustrated, she said, "Damn it, why are there so many beasts?" But she was so focused on that one ape that she didn't notice the other two apes, roaring menacingly, ready to attack her. He called out to her, "Be careful." As she saw him panic, he instructed Black Fong to use the infernal bind skill. Holding his hand out in front of him, Black Fong understood and gathered red and black energy in its mouth before releasing the skill. As he looked on, he saw that infernal bind had ensnared all the apes. He mocked them, asking, "Where will you run now?" As the chains that were not wrapped around the apes began to fade away, the three apes lay on the ground, bound and subdued. Just then, Qin Yeren called out, asking, "So you're a beast master too?" She picked up her fox and walked over to him smiling. She said, "Thanks for earlier." He responded, "No problem, any beast master would have done the same in that situation." But just then, another system window appeared, leaving him confused. He said, "But sister, about your beast." It showed the fox's status as depressed and lethargic due to post-battle trauma, with a treatment that involved crushing animal and flowers, soaking them in hot water, adding a thunder attribute catalyst, and mixing in the fully dissolved core of a water-type magical beast. With this information, he questioned her lately as they get overly excited in battle, but becomes lethargic afterward, even showing signs of self-harm. She asked him, "How did you know?" He explained, "It's suffering from post-battle trauma. I read about this condition in the Beast Master's Ailments Guide. Thunder foxes are particularly susceptible." While thinking to himself, he couldn't exactly tell her that he could see her beast's status. Still, she seemed grateful and playfully hit him on the back, saying, "Thank you, big brother." No wonder Xiaoxio hasn't been smiling lately. The smack was so strong that he leaned forward, telling her to take it easy. Suddenly, she grabbed him by the shoulder, looked him in the eye, and declared, "From now on, you're my little brother," leaving him confused by the situation. However, his sister also stood up after witnessing the whole exchange. Her fist clenched in anger, and she appeared furious, her face twisted in rage as she glared at both of them. However, after a moment, she comes forward and steps between Sinyu and Qin Yamran, stating, "Sorry, he's not just anyone's little brother." Sinyu is confused to see her unexpected behavior. She grabs his arm and puts her head on his shoulder, declaring possessively, "He's my little brother." Qin Yamran immediately pulls Sinyu back and says, "Really? Then from now on, he's also my little brother." The two girls then start tugging on Sinyu, each adamantly claiming him as their little brother. Sinyu thinks to himself in dismay, "Wait, sisters, I'm being pulled apart here." The scene then switches to the central plaza of Azure Dragon Academy, where Lin Chang, the Dean of Education, welcomes all the new students and asks them to please be patient as they wait for the principal to arrive. Sinyu thought to himself, after saying goodbye to Sister Qin Yamran, "I finally made it through the enrollment process and got accepted into Azure Dragon Academy without too much trouble." Suddenly, a majestic purple flame lion beast emerges, catching everyone's attention. The crowd erupts in excitement, and one person exclaims, "Wow, a purple flame lion. That must be Su Ruian, the director." It's then revealed that she is none other than the principal of Azure Dragon Academy. A staff member approaches Su Ruian and politely requests, "Director Ruian, could you please share a few words with the new students?" Sinyu is shocked and thinks, "Isn't that the woman who fought the Shadow Demon Dragon before? I didn't expect her to be the principal of Azure Dragon Academy." Meanwhile, Su Ruian, with a serious attitude, announces, "Congratulations on getting accepted into Azure Dragon Academy. But let me remind all of you of one thing, no matter if you are from an influential family or come from humble beginnings in Azure Dragon Academy, you'll all follow my rules, especially rule number 8. This surprises everyone, and one of them comments, "Have you heard about Rule 8? Another wonders, what's that about? Ruian explains Rule 8. If conflicts arise between students, no matter who's right or wrong, it must be resolved through a duel in the ring, and the loser must apologize to the winner." Sinyu, with a serious look, thinks Rule 8 may seem strict, but this way, influential families can't bully others or abuse their power, and even ordinary students can see justice through their fists. 2 hours later, one of the students pointed at Sinyu, asking, "So you are Xiao Sinyu? I can't believe I'm in the same class as you, the one whose spiritual power almost rivals that of Senior Iningshuan." Just then, Professor Chen steps in and asks everyone to sit down as class is about to start. The student tells Sinyu, "Rather Xiao, I'll follow you from now on." Chen clears his throat and says, "Quiet." While writing something on the board, he turns back to the class, introducing himself. Class, I am your homeroom teacher Chen Kinyan. I hope you all gain something valuable from your time at Azure Dragon Academy. He asks the students to open Beast Companion Guide to the first chapter, where they'll start with the theory of beast companions. He starts teaching and explains that the strength of a beast companion is mainly determined by two factors. The first is the companion's evolutionary stage. The currently known evolutionary stages from lowest to highest include initial form, mature form, complete form, transcendent form, and finally, the beast king form. The second factor is the beast's bloodline quality. Documented bloodlines are ranked from poor to high quality, and higher quality bloodlines naturally exert a suppressive effect on lower ones. Chen continues by explaining that the attributes of beast companions can create an attribute suppression effect. For example, the common 5-element attributes, metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, follow a cycle of neutral suppression. Wood over earth, earth over water, water over fire, fire over metal, and metal over wood. Beyond these 5 basic attributes, there are other variants like sand and lightning. The rest I will list one by one. While Chen is teaching, he suddenly notices Sinyu is sleeping in class. To wake him up, he throws a piece of chalk at him, angrily asking, "See how Sinyu stand up?" Sinyu wakes up, and Chen immediately asks him, "Got some nerve, huh? Sleeping in my class? Then tell me, what's the weakness of the sky demon lizard?" He warns, "If you can't answer, pack up and get out." However, Sinyu quickly answers that the sky demon lizard's weakness is the venom sac under its abdomen. Surprised, Chen asks him another question, "Then tell me, where do ice condor crocodiles usually live?" Sinyu also answers this, stating a Frostfall Lake region of the southern Dragon Kingdom, as well as the cold pools beneath the Conlan Glacier Falls. One of the students comments, "Wow, that's impressive." This shocks Chen, and he thinks, let's test him some more. So he decides to ask a 5-up question. If you encounter a sky-rending tiger in the wild, what should you do? Sinyu calmly responds, "I would bite down on my ID card and find a shady spot to lie down." Everyone is shocked, and Chen asks him why. Sinyu explains, because the sky-rending tiger is a beast king form mutated beast. Only a level 6 or higher beast master could stand a chance against it. And for us beginner beast masters, if we run into a sky-rending tiger in the wild, we are as good as dead. So I put my ID in my mouth to make it easier for my family to identify my body, and finding a shady spot would also keep the body from decaying too quickly. Hearing his answers, Chen is stunned and announces aloud, "This answer. I give it full marks." Then he questions the CEO of Sinyu. "I was asking questions from the later chapter. How do you know?" Sinyu smiles and replies, "Because I already finished studying the rest of the material." Impressed by Sinyu's profound knowledge and dedication, Chen realizes he is dealing with an exceptional student. Hearing this, all the students are shocked and wonder, how are we supposed to keep up with this prodigy? Another student adds, "What kind of prodigy monster is he?" Chen then says, "CEO of Sinyu, come with me," and tells the class, "Please continue with self-study." Outside the classroom, Sinyu quickly apologizes saying, "Teacher Chen, I'm really sorry. I promise I won't sleep in class again." But Chen reassures him, it's not about that, and tells him, "You have mastered the entire semester's theory content in less than half a class." Sinyu politely answers, "All thanks to your great teaching, sir." Chen grits his teeth and clenches his fist, frustrated, and responds, "Cut the flattery, kid." He adds, "Since you have completed the theory section, it's time for you to dive into more advanced material." He then hands Sinyu a library pass for Azure Dragon Academy and tells him, "With this pass, you are free to come and go in the Azure Dragon library and borrow books for free." Sinyu is shocked to see the card, and Chen tells him, "Go ahead, I don't have anything else to teach you." After that, Sinyu goes to the Azure Dragon Academy library and starts reading. But soon, a voice calls out, "Today, Azure Dragon Academy belongs to me." The voice turns out to be Wang Yan, son of Vice Principal Wang Dongsheng. He announces, "Only guys get out." Everyone starts rushing out, but he stops the girls, demanding them to stay and laughs, saying, "Keep company while I study." The girls plead to leave, looking distressed and uncomfortable. Just then, Sinyu, unable to stand the disrespectful behavior, says, "Shut up," and throws a book at Wang's head, catching the bully off guard. Wang looks around, stunned, and says, "Who's there?" His lackeys, eager to please their leader, point at Sinyu, telling Wang Yan, "It's that kid over there who's disrespecting you." Sinyu asks him, "Bullying girls? You have got no shame." Wang Yan responds, "Hey, who do you think you are, playing the hero?" Then one girl comes up to Xinyu, telling him, "You should leave," explaining that he is the son of Vice Principal Wang Dongsheng. "We can't afford to mess with him." Xinyu smiles and responds in a sarcastic manner, "So this father is the vice principal. That certainly explains his arrogance." Wang responds, "Glad you understand." Meanwhile, Wang has become furious and tells Xinyu, "If you know what's good for you, kneel and apologize now." But instead, Xinyu kicks between his legs, saying, "In your dreams." Wang, in agony and pain, falls to the ground, and his lackeys ask, "Are you alright, young Master Wang?" Wang, pointing his finger, tells Xinyu, "Do you even know who I am?" Enraged, Wang says, "Daring to mess with me? I'll make sure you don't leave this library alive." He continued to act arrogant even while lying on the floor. Suddenly, there was a clack of heels behind them, and they heard a familiar voice. It was the academy principal, and she looked quite stern. With a sneer she said that she didn't even realize that Qinglong Academy was under the control of this arrogant guy. Wang Yan couldn't understand at all how the principal knew about the incident so quickly and came to them. She seemed to have realized what had happened between them. And she said that since they had a conflict, to solve it, they must comply with rule number 8. This rule is a duel between two conflicting parties. The loser must apologize to the winner. The events have moved to the main arena area. The announcers announced that the fight between Xiao Xinyue and Wang Yang was about to take place and invited everyone to watch. But as it turned out, Wang Yang's beast was the legendary six-headed sky-creating leopard. Can Xiao Xinyue really defeat it? It would be a very difficult fight. The teacher was very worried about his student, and he hoped very much that Xiao Xinyue would not let him down. The battle was about to begin and all the participants should enter the arena. As he held his hand before the fight, he threatened Xiao Xinyue that after the fight, he would kiss his feet and do his bidding. Without paying attention, he threw him a retort and told him that he would wait for him to personally apologize. This really pissed Wang Yang off. Finally, after a few minutes, the competition between them began. Wang Yang summoned his mighty leopard to the surface. It looked amazing. It was azure blue in color with huge fangs and insanely powerful strength. It was an insanely strong cleaving leopard. Its bloodline was legendary. It had unreal strength and any attack it made dealt a huge amount of freezing damage. Seeing that this beast had as many as 2 attributes, Xiao Xinyue was completely shocked. But it didn't scare him because he was willing to be responsible for his actions and words. It was his time to speak. He summoned his black fawn into the arena. Seeing Xiao Xinyue's beast, one of the students was completely shocked. He thought he was very strong and powerful. But the other one clearly disagreed with him, and he thought that the 6-clawed sky-splitting leopard would completely win in this level. Someone was watching everything happening from the VIP seats. It was Academy Principal Qi Long. After taking a closer look, she realized that she had never seen a beast like Xiao Xinyue's, but it was very similar to her. It was like an evolutionary version of a wind dog. But after all, a wind dog was always a useless beast that never had an evolutionary path. She couldn't understand how Xiao Xinyue was able to create such a transformation with his beast. Meanwhile in the arena, Wang Yan was trying to humiliate Xiao Xinyue in every way possible. He was 100% sure of his victory. He unleashed his ice leopard that could create ice cracks all over the arena with its claw. It looked very powerful. Xiao Xinyue's black rock beast had to make a snake-like movement. It dodged the leopard's punches with ease. 2 strong animals clashed in a strong fight. It both possessed very powerful strength and was willing to put up 100% in the battle. Master watched the duel intently. Xiao Xinyue's Hellstorm Wolf was a beast with the attributes of wind and fire, while the sky-splitting leopard was a beast with the attributes of ice and wind. And at any rate, each of them had flaws that they would not be able to avoid under any circumstances. Wang Yan informed Xiao Xinyue that he would easily be able to immobilize his beast. And after a moment, he released the ice leopard outside. Applying the destructive sky skill, he struck the Xiao Xinyue beast vividly. And now, he didn't understand what he should do. Xiao Xinyue's beast was completely immobilized and frozen into an ice block. After something like this, no one knew what would happen next. Xiao Xinyue definitely had to think of a further plan of action because he clearly must not lose to this scum. Wang Yan began to mock Xiao Xinyue very hard after his action. He already knew very well what Xiao Xinyue's outcome would be. Wang Yan was sure that it wouldn't take long for him to defeat the guy, because after freezing Xiao Xinyue's beast, he would simply die from the cold inside that block of ice. From all the seats in the arena, the spectators were watching the fight intently. The principal and teacher were very worried about the guy, hoping that he would be able to do something and not lose to this proud guy. But Xiao Xinyue wasn't scared at all, and he didn't believe that this would really happen. After a moment, Xiao Xinyue took all his strength in his fist and decided to use one spell. He summoned his beast and ordered it to transform into a night stalker. Suddenly, after Xiao Xinyue said this, his beast instantly disappeared, and the block of ice became empty. The teacher was well aware that Xiao Xinyue had used the dark property to prevent his beast from dying. Seeing this action, Principal Su was very much surprised, because she clearly didn't expect that Xiao Xinyue's Hell Wolf actually had a third property. Wang Yan was completely shocked by what had happened. He clearly did not expect this turn of events. It was unthinkable in his mind that he would just disappear from his trap like this. But to Xiao Xinyue, this was no surprise, because he was perfectly aware of his actions, knowing what he was doing. Suddenly, a Hell Wolf appeared out of nowhere, and it was preparing to attack Wang Yan directly. Seeing this, Wang Yan was very scared. Suddenly out of nowhere, his leopard rushed to his owner's aid and decided to immediately save him from the Hell Wolf's clutches. The Hell Wolf was by his master's side after a few minutes. Xiao Xinyue was preparing to show everyone his mighty strength in this arena. He was going to give his best because he wanted to teach the rascal Wang Yan a lesson. And after a few seconds, he ordered his Black Fang to use the Silent Claw skill. After that, Xiao Xinyue's beast pounced on the ice leopard and began to deliver powerful blows with all his might. It was just a complete failure for Wang Yan because this time, the leopard didn't listen to him and didn't defend itself from the wolf's strikes. Wang Yan was just furious because his animal couldn't hold on anymore. It had almost no strength left to fight back. And with each passing moment, the blows were getting harder and harder. The Silent Claw skill carried great consequences. Because it was a dark attribute skill and because of that, it caused a 3-second silence effect. The leopard had completely taken over this attack and accordingly it served as a very good chance for the wolf to win. After a few minutes, Xiao Xinyue ordered his wolf to finish this fight and defeat his opponent. With the last strike, they decided to apply the wolf's infernal howl. It was the one that was supposed to be victorious. The wolf threw itself towards the ice leopard in order to do the intended thing and defeat the terrifying Wang Yan. And after that strike, the leopard was finished and its body fell down almost powerlessly right on the arena. The host raised Xiao Xinyue's hand up and announced the winner. In this fight, Xiao Xinyue was able to win over the vile Wang Yang. Wang Yang fell to the floor and couldn't believe it. There was no way he wanted to admit defeat. Xiao Xinyue walked up to him to confirm his victory and this further drove Wang Yang to the ground. Principal Su came down to the arena to remind them of the academy's rules. Because according to rule number 8, the loser must apologize to the winner. Principal Su herself wanted to finally end this matter already, so she decided to remind them about it. To Wang Yang, this was just an unbelievable humiliation. He had never guessed that this would even happen to him. After a moment, Wang Yang bowed to Xiao Xinyue and apologized to him. No matter how angry Wang Yang was, he still did it because he clearly didn't want to be expelled from the academy. And that could really happen if he didn't adhere to the rules created by Principal Su. After his apology, he was already mentally about to prepare a new plan of revenge against Xiao Xinyue. Meanwhile, Principal Su was talking to Xiao Xinwu and praising him. She was very surprised by his performance and said that from now on, he was the second disciple who was able to attract her attention with his skills. She is very much looking forward to Xiao Xinyue's performance in the freshman student ranking competition, which will happen in a few days. Xiao Xinyue embarrassingly thanked Principal Su for all the compliments. But he couldn't help himself and decided to inquire about who was the first person who was able to get her attention earlier. Director Su explained that it was a young genius who had a spiritual score of more than 1,000 points and it was Yi Xuanning. Xiao Xinyue realized who Director Su was talking about because he had previously heard about this person in the entrance exam. Director Su also appreciated his talent and because of his victory in this battle, she decided to give him a spatial ring. It was all because of this victory match. She was very happy that Xiao Xinyue had defeated Wang Yang so easily. Xiao Xinyue was completely shocked after seeing exactly what Director Su was going to hand him. This spatial ring could store absolutely everything a beast owner would need. It was very portable and necessary because thanks to it, he could carry absolutely anything he would need in the future. There was no way Xiao Xinyue could refuse such a gift. Therefore, he gladly decided to accept it while also remembering to thank Principal Su. Xiao Xinyue stood near the entrance of the Azure Dragon Academy after the battle. He came out of there and was about to go home because he was sure that his sister had been waiting for him at home for a long time, and that was why he had to hurry up. As suddenly, someone flew in and pulled Xiao Xinyue away from his thoughts. It turned out to be a little girl with blue hair. She bumped into the guy a bit, so he asked the little girl if she was alright, like a true gentleman. She was a little scared and was trying to come to her senses. Therefore, after the guy's question, the little girl replied that she was fine. Xiao Xinyue stroked her head and asked her to behave a little more carefully next time. After a little admonishment, he asked her to follow her home with caution. As she suddenly called him her big brother, she sweetly informed him that she didn't have a home and asked him to take her with him. Xiao Xinyue was completely shocked by what was happening. He couldn't understand why the little girl was behaving like this and where her parents were. Suddenly, the events moved to the family dormitory. The guy's sister was yelling at the guy and scolding him. She couldn't understand how on her first day of moving in, Xiao Xinyue dared to steal some stranger's child. Xiao Xinyue tried to explain what had happened in the first place, but his sister was completely furious and she practically prevented him from saying anything. All that came out of her mouth were questions about the stranger's child. And then a little while later, the sister sat with the child on the couch and waited for an explanation from her brother, and as soon as she calmed down, he began his story. This girl's name is Xiaoming, and she is very much afraid of beasts, and that's why she can't become a beast tamer. Her real family treats her very badly, and that's why she decided to run away from her home. Xiao Xinyue decided to help her face her fear of beasts, and so he brought her to their house. Xiaoming jumped into Xiao Xinyue's sister's arms and begged her to let her stay because she wasn't going to go to her family now. The sister wasn't as she seemed and gave her approval to Xiao Xinyue's idea. But that wasn't all she said. Therefore, a few minutes later, she decided to add a few words to her line. She ordered Xiao Xinyue that under no circumstances should he choose a woman who was from the E family. He looked at his sister with confusion and tried to find a trick in her words. The events moved to the Blue Dragon Academy. The teacher was telling his students something, and they were listening attentively. Xiao Xinyue was also standing there, but he was deep in his thoughts. He couldn't understand why his sister had said that and her words couldn't get out of his head. And a little later, it turned out that Xiao Xinyue had said it out loud, because the guy standing next to him asked him what he was thinking about, because it was very strange to him. Xiao Xinyue apologized and said that he was a little distracted. As it turned out, Teacher Chen was talking about the battle stance, and this guy asked him to clarify the concept a bit. Beast masters focus on team play in battle, and each of them has a different role and position. There are archers, and they are able to strike the enemy very hard at huge distances. They have really very long-range attacks. There are beast mages with tremendous control skills. They are most often good in group fights and deal very strong damage. There are tanks or beasts with strong defense and healing abilities. They are very good shields for the whole team in battle. Assassins are beasts with very high mobility and destruction power. They are responsible for destroying enemies with low health. Also, there should be a lot of support in the team. These beasts enhance the strength and power of their allies in battle due to their skills. And after Xiao Xinyue's story, this guy was completely shocked. He had no idea that this guy actually knew so much. He asked Xiao Xinyue what category his assault butterfly beasts belonged to. Just as suddenly, they were interrupted by the evil Mr. Chen, and he didn't tolerate any conversation during his classes. So he gave them a big warning. And after calming down a bit, he ordered each student to summon his beasts to determine the battlefield position of each of them. The first was Song, who had his beast turned out to be a tank, which accordingly makes a huge defense for the allies in battle. Following him was Wu Xinyue, and his beast was an assault butterfly. It was great at water attacks, and so it positioned him as a mage. And after him, it was supposed to be Xiao Xinyue's turn. The first test was force attack, and Teacher Chen asked if the guy was ready to do it. Xiao Xinyue was completely ready for this test, and without doubting his strength, he summoned his beast. The Black Fawn used its beautiful infernal howl, and its effect turned out to be a critical hit of triple damage. Xiao Xinyue's strength was simply growing at a tremendous speed. The classmates were completely shocked after seeing Xiao Xinyue's result. They clearly did not expect that he was capable of triple damage. Most of them could barely handle single damage, and so their reactions didn't need to wait long. Mr. Chen knew very well that normally the damage of first specialty beasts could deal damage up to a maximum of 1,500 points. Chen couldn't believe that this was actually happening. How was it even possible that Xiao Xinyue's first stage beast was able to deal a simply huge and critical triple strike? Xiao Xinyue inquired if the test was completed for him. Xiao Xinyue already knew from looking at the results that he and his beast were suitable for the role of an annihilator, so he asked for an exact confirmation from Mr. Chen. Mr. Chen was still unable to recover from his shock. He suggested that the guy test his capabilities to see how far Xiao Xinyue's potential could go. The next test was showing the beast's range, and as it turned out to be more than 800 meters, the friend suggested Xiao Xinyue become a marksman. The next test was the defense test, and Xiao Xinyue's beast was able to easily break through that. His friend was completely shocked because as it later turned out, even Mr. Chen's unusual ice turtle beast couldn't break through it. Xiao Xinyue's beast result was simply incredible and breathtaking. And now, what remained was the control test. It was a hell of a binding bond for the Xiao Xinyue beast. After the control test, there was a buff test, and Chen revealed that based on the simulated data, any beast within 10 meters of a wolf would receive a 30% enhancement in combat and on top of that another 10% increase in attack and movement speed. Still, all the students were very curious to know what Xiao Xinyue's role was on the battlefield. Most of them were very much surprised because Xiao Xinyue and his beast surprised them very much. He could choose absolutely any category with those kinds of skills. Suddenly, Mr. Chen informed everyone that he actually knew a special position that would really suit Xiao Xinyue. All the students were eagerly waiting for Mr. Chen's answer. Each of them was eager to finally find out which category Xiao Xinyue could actually fit into. Teacher Chen began his story. He told his students that if a beast master surpasses others in all ranks and positions, then accordingly that beast master would receive a multifunctional title, which was very logical in this situation. And as it turned out, Xiao Xinyue was the only disciple in the class that would receive this multifunctional title. Xiao Xinyue stood silently in front of the other students. He, just like the rest of the students, was also very surprised by this outcome. His classmates were really shocked by this and each of them wanted to personally congratulate Xiao Xinyue. Xiao Xinyue was very embarrassed and his face became flushed in an instant. He felt very embarrassed because everyone's attention was directed towards him. Mr. Chen asked him not to worry too much and put aside all doubts about this matter. But still, such abilities are very rare in this world. All the data on the freshman is still incomplete. But so far, Xiao Xinyue is the only multifunctional student in their class. But he is clearly not the only one in the academy. There are Yixuan Ning and Han Tianzong in the second year. In the third year, there are Murong Qingyang and Li Xuanqing's disciples. And so at this moment in the academy, besides Xiao Xinyue, there are currently 4 multifunction disciples so far. And to calm his disciples down a bit, Mr. Chen explained that each of them must work hard. The lesson is now over and the events take us outside. Xiao Xinyue was walking down the street and was deep in his thoughts. Their academy was now starting a small vacation. And in order for Xiao Xinyue to perform well at the ranking of the freshman students, he would need to acquire some improvements for the beast's nutrition. He was very serious. Suddenly, some male voices snapped Xiao Xinyue out of his thoughts. This alerted the guy very much and he raised his voice to see who it was. One of the guys wondered how Xiao Xinyue didn't know anything about the Black Tiger Guild. And it seems like these guys were clearly set up for something bad. Suddenly, the familiar Wang Yang appeared from behind this guy and his intentions were clear. Like a rat from behind, he wanted to break Xiao Xinyue's limb and kill him for everything. In doing so, Wang Yang was doing just that, inciting President Lang. A bunch of guys started moving towards Xiao Xinyue. They wanted to deal with him as soon as possible and do something bad to him. Every single one of them wanted to do some kind of harm to him. As soon as Xiao Xinyue looked at the stars on their clothes, he realized that they were all animal taming masters. This really pissed the guy off. He thought it was too much for so many masters to attack him alone. But it didn't scare him too much. Yang Wangyan was about to attack Xiao Xinyue. But the president of their league, Mr. Li, stopped him and said that he would personally take care of Xiao Xinyue's revenge. And after a few minutes, Mr. Li summoned his ice leopard. It looked simply marvelous and very powerful. Mr. Li ordered his leopard to pounce on Xiao Xinyue. But this didn't scare the guy at all and he in turn decided to act as well. Xiao Xinyue summoned his black fang as soon as possible and it pounced on the leopard in a flash. The black fang was a very strong and powerful beast. With a little time, Xiao Xinyue was able to train it. Xiao Xinyue's beast easily threw the leopard away from him. There was so much strength in it that no one had clearly expected it. Mr. Li was completely shocked by what was happening because Junior Wang Yan hadn't told him that this kid's beast would turn out to be so strong. Mr. Li was simply furious. There was no way in his mind that such a beast would even be able to engage in a fight with his extraordinary Thunder Tiger. He thought his beast was the most powerful and this upset him greatly. Mr. Lee decided to test Xiao Xinyue for his abilities. He was very curious about how a guy with 1 star could prove himself. So they called out their beasts as a guild. Mr. Lee was confident that his 4-star tiger guild would be much stronger than this little guy's strength. All the tigers lined up and were ready to strike at the command of their tamers. Suddenly something made them pay attention and they were all very surprised. Because Director Su's daughter appeared in front of them and she was fully confident that her guild was much stronger than theirs and they could easily defeat them. Xiao Xinyue was completely shocked after seeing them in front of him because he clearly didn't expect anyone to come to his aid. This concludes the latest chapter, and we will be continuing it from here in the next episode.